It says, alert Jalisco, stay inside your homes until the federal operations shut down the area. And they have a whole list of places that need to sit their ass still. That ain't happening if the man ain't gone. So for everybody to say, oh, he's faking it.
Well, yeah, and I think it's just like it's weird because like you said it earlier, you mentioned earlier, like what's that gonna do? Bring them back? But I think now it's what they feel like they have to do is show force. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Because the last thing you want is for anyone to think that you're soft,
Right,
right? Or you didn't do anything of it, especially after the Culiacanazo, especially after what they did for Ovidio, right?
right.
2 times. Sadly, it always happens, Shy, right? That they make a big arrest or someone like this, someone as important as this person dies, and it's like people will be like, okay, well, it's gonna keep going. But look, it doesn't stop you from doing your job. You have to do it. You start
Right.
somewhere. To me, it's gonna be like, look, if they could get at him, they could get at you.
Right.
And I think that shows a message. I see a lot of people. I even see some, real experts like Ed Calderon,
Mm-hmm.
who's speaking about this, and it's like, oh my god, like so. It signals to real drug traffickers who are in there and like, look, that's what's gonna come for us.
Right.
And again, some of these people like you, they act like they try to be about it. They don't have a choice but to do it now, right?
This is good news. We, the people in Oakland Bay Area, California, suffered a lot from this evil Mexican cartel. They flooded California with drugs. This is good news. And then somebody put the veiled threat from the internet, that, oh, be careful. Mencho got people in California. The oppressed should be able to feel like the oppressed when they felt oppressed. They should be able to say that they felt oppressed by an oppressor.
People are so ridiculous, right? People it's just retarded. It's these people on the internet that don't live a life, right? That have no idea. Like I still haven't seen it. I keep seeing all these reports. Still, you see it where they're gonna be mad and even the reports that the government lets out about American people being targeted or that custom border patrols are gonna be targeted or agents. Like I ain't seen one dead yet.
Mm-hmm.
It just is these ridiculous people live in the movies. But I think it's look, this was coming for the Chapillos. This was coming for everyone. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and thank God I never said that was the gangsters or whoever's dropping those comments right in the chat. Like I never been those gangsters. I never act like somebody I wasn't. But guess what? All those tough gangsters, we keep talking about this on your channel, are gonna end up just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, even let's talk about that, Shy. When we talk about, we're listening to your analysis on mini league, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was one of those dudes, my man, my sicarios,
Right, right.
oh, I gotta go, send people to get killed, and then next thing you know, you're doing a, interview with a journalist talking about all the stuff you said, you snitched on, right?
Right.
This is gonna be the state of Mexico for quite some time, and I think that the government, the United States government, the Mexican government should take should really take advantage and just go full force, right? And going after them because it's going to be like this, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have to show their force too. They have to show their power.
Go for the kill.
Absolutely, right? Especially when they think they could just go on the street and do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell you something. The government gives the military a green light. They'll do a better job. And you see it all the time with these gunfights, right? There'll be like 15 Sicarios killed, one military officer injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're trained. They have the valor and the know-how and would love to do it.
You think Ivan and Alfredo will turn themselves in now?
Nah, that ship sailed for them.
Not that they don't want to, but they cannot. They no longer have the access.
They had the opportunity, but now what Mencho, who they gonna tell on? You get me? What
Mm-hmm.
they gonna do? They had the opportunity when their brothers did it, and I think they would have. I don't think that the brothers are gonna do more than 10 years. From my expert opinion and from inside information,
Mm-hmm.
but they had that opportunity. Now it's they decided to try to live out that legacy, and I will tell you they have a contingent plan just in case they were to get arrested because they're gonna want to die and be immortal, right? Be remembered as
Martyrs.
martyrs, and just like Mencho, right? It's sad that we could talk about this like real factual stuff that's going on, right? And obviously, we all know this. I haven't seen it yet, where the criminals or the bad guys or the gangsters win at the end. It never works out. Yet, we comment about something, but regardless, you're still gonna have people who like don't like to hear us stating facts. You get me? Like he dead,
They like the legend.
right? He dead. I guess he wasn't like that. You know what I mean? It was laughable when I did the Borderland interview. The biggest thing that we are talking about back then is that if the American government, American military had a chance against the cartel, and I said that's laughable.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, we watch so many movies, but we know, what our military is like. Okay, they could go into a foreign country, right, in Venezuela, right, and bring back the president within an hour. You get me?
Mhm.
And we see the power that they have in so many operations against Bin Laden, whatever the case is. Like my respect, because like my respect to my people of Mexico who have valor and stuff, but they're not no trained militants. You know, it's laughable. You give me that. I knew that this was gonna happen.
Mhm.
That when they went to get him, get him or get any of these other guys, that it was gonna, it was not even gonna be a issue.
If the reports are true and the U.S. government was involved, do we see violence in the U.S. or against Americans in Mexico? Shout out to Jay for his incredible insight. I'll just say off the cuff, like Jay said that and Mayo said in the book, they know who got more bullets.
Look, every time you hear, oh, they got people in LA, look, they don't have anyone in LA. Okay, look, from my expertise, from my experience, knowledge, and expertise, this ain't no, law enforcement. This ain't, Ed Calderon. This is not someone on the news media or a journalist saying this. Like, I ran drug trafficking in Chicago, in the Midwest, for many years. I didn't care who or what happened in Mexico. I don't care if it was, I idolized, Chapo Mayo one time, if whatever happened to them. No one, I wasn't going to send anyone to do anything. And no one would have listened to say, oh, you get me? We have to do this. Like, get out of here. It's a joke. It's laughable. Yeah, even you've seen it recently with this whole Lion King thing, going to court because they supposedly were offering a bounty. Like, bro, the Lion King member that supposedly that he probably was just getting by, having a regular job.
Yeah, and guess what? We're in a recession and nobody collected. Miss me with the
No one
bullshit.
collected.
I knew that was a bullshit propaganda story from the beginning.
And look, and maybe I'm not an expert in every other gang, but just say like, all my experience and knowledge, not being a Lion King member, but being involved, my brothers and everyone, having close relationship with the leaders of Lion Kings and all that, bro, they were never gonna send a Lion King member to do someone else's business. It's not in their best interest. You know, it's not in their best interest. Plus, it goes away from personal, what you personally want is different from what the organization is best for the organization, and this so it's laughable. Those are good. I love those questions because those are good questions, right? That I think that sometimes people be like, well, Mexico and the United States are tied. I mean, they're tied because of the business of drugs. But your problem is your problem. My problem is my problem.
Shout out Yayo. It's still fuck Trump, but he's putting belt to ass on the cartels.
I mean, listen. One thing he ran on that shy. Let's just admit he ran on this, and I think to us, to the mainstream, to everyone, I think we're more shocked that he kept his word and he's actually doing it, right? And that's the only thing I could say, that he ran on it and he's keeping his promise, and he's doing a hell of a job because because everyone's gonna not gonna be perfect because we don't know what that is, but he's put he's made a bigger impact on drug trafficking in these last year than I think the last whatever presidents combined. Okay, they did it in the last 50 years, and
Well,
that's including the Mexican government as well.
mm, well, hopefully he could do the same for all pedophiles and chomos and shut the whole shit down instead of protecting them and defending them. And we'll see how that goes from there. That's what I need him to do. Put belt to ass on that side of the table. So cartel shit aside, run the fucking drugs. Do what you got to do. But children are the most unprotected humans in the world.
I'm not promoting violence, okay, but you know what's sad too, because we always talk about gangster stuff in this and that, right, everywhere, but how 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 are so many pedophiles? How are they surviving in prison?
I don't know.
I'll tell you something, because all this stuff is fake. All this internet stuff about the way it is, it's fake. Because they say that there's snitches get
Oh,
stitches,
all
and
that shit. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's like, how do they
Yeah,
survive?
because you know
You
what?
should.
Let me tell you. People tell me all the time, they'll be like, oh, so and so's going to have it hard in jail. And I'll be like, are they? Are they?
I
Maybe in some places, maybe on some yards.
I have a friend who was law enforcement, and he told me a story about this. Basically, they were doing intel, and at that time there was a it was Tijuana cartel or maybe whatever, just a more recent cartel. It was out in Tijuana, San Diego border, right? And they used to go work, and there's this priest that used to like, give intel and help out and all kinds of stuff, right? That everyone was new. And one day they get a call. They get a call, and they go to this little town right outside of Tijuana somewhere, and they find that the priest been tortured, born just burned alive. Okay, and they're like, holy cow, these cartels, like these individuals who they suspected have no, they killed a priest. How could they? He shares the story how he took the priest's phone, or they left the phone, or whatever the case is. And when they decided to remove all the information from the phone, it turns out that he was a pedophile,
Mm,
and he was like recording himself and had pictures of all kinds of innocent kids, boys, little kids,
mm,
and they basically said that they found that, and I guess he ended up touching the wrong kid, and it was a cartel
mm,
member's family, and it's like that happens, and I just looked at law enforcement, and they were like, oh, well, basically almost like he got what he deserved. You know what I mean? I don't think no one would argue about that, but it's just like um, that has to be something that's very important. I think that going after and protecting the kids and going after pedophiles and people who abuse children is a must. I also think that we need to keep focusing on prevention, right? Drug prevention, gang prevention, right?
agreed.
Because you're the only channel, and I will tell you that talks about this and talks down on the life, right? I don't care if it's in Mexico or if it's in the United States. That word gangster that people have, that they have to prove that they're stupid, basically, right? That they have to do certain things. And you see it even in the comments right now.
Mm,
You know, um, that's like basically the crab effect, right? That we grew up in these environments, and now it's getting pushed through social media, right? And through these interviews, that people think that the life is good, and every day I see young kids making stupid mistakes and getting life sentences, right? You make stupid decisions, you get stupid rewards, right?
right.
And 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 that side, I think that we have to focus a little bit more on prevention and education.
Show me his body or it didn't happen. Well, that's you, Papa. You got special circumstances over the rest of us. We're gonna
Yeah,
make sure. We're gonna make sure that the Mexican soldiers they send you
and
pictures
yeah,
straight to your phone.
we'll make sure the American government and the Mexican military send you pictures
You know
so
that
you
we're gonna
could
let them
confirm it.
know. Hey, Bafa
Okay,
Bafe Metra, said he not gonna believe y'all unless y'all show the picture. So we need that picture.
Shy.
Mm.
Another thing I want to address, and I'm not saying this because of you, because I'm saying this because of the comments, right? Every time I hear those comments about they do what the government or the other governments does, it doesn't make it right.
Wait,
It's
who's
not
they? Who does what other government
like
does?
when people say, well, cartels don't do what the governments don't do,
Uh-huh.
and it's like it never makes it right. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But one thing's for sure, if just say we're gonna say that the Mexican governments or American governments are drug traffickers and this and that, right? And they're selling drugs that kill people, whatever, right?
Mm.
Well, at least you don't see them, killing innocent people because they sang a song about them,
Right,
right?
right. Public,
And it's
public executions in the street and shit.
yeah,
Their
like,
shit is
but it's
covert. Their shit is covert. We got to uncover. We got to peel back layers from the onion to get that information.
yeah, it's so ridiculous, man. It's like little kid stuff, like, oh, he did it, why can't I? Or if he, it's just stupid. It just doesn't make any sense.
How the fuck will Mexico host the World Cup with this shit going on?
You see, this is where one thing what's going to happen, that Mexico is not going to lose the World Cup, or it's going to be postponed. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that when these World Cup officials call up the president, right? Because remember, this is important. This is like the Olympics, Shai. This is bigger than the Olympics. Okay,
Mm, mm,
you're going to see all these drug traffickers go away. Plain and simple. They're going to go away one way or another. They're going to go away on a body bag, or they're going to go away on their own. Also, somebody made a comment about the drugs, right? I agree. I say that all the time. I mean, me
what
being
was the
involved in
comment?
drugs,
Because I don't know where it's at. What did she say?
I apologize. She said also they don't force the drugs on people. People make the choice to buy them.
Right.
I agree. I've been saying that for a long time. I never met a drug dealer that gives away drugs for free.
Last big boss with a question mark.
Last big boss. Yeah, the last big boss. Last boss. Like what I'm saying with this that type of statue, you're not gonna
Yeah,
see
there's
another
always gonna be
Mencho.
somebody else to put the jersey
Yeah.
on for that you're gonna cheerlead for and shit.
How about this, guys? I'm gonna imagine, unless Vicenter, one of those people are on your chat, that you guys don't know that there's a bunch of very, very big drug traffickers. Shy, I'm not sure you noticed, but some of the times you're reading out names of associates of El Mayo. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of those guys who I knew, I didn't always do business with them, but that you never heard of. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and when you have someone like Vicente saying this guy was a very large drug trafficker,
Mm-hmm.
that's saying a lot. Okay,
Right.
and again, they don't have the name of El Mayo. They don't have the name of Vicente Zambada or El Mencho. Again, you most of you guys don't know who Los Queenies are. All right, and basically Los Queenies told Mencho to go wash their car. So be mad at me for that.
El Mencho's not Mayo. There's a leader always and an advisor. El Mencho's alive, just like Amado. So nobody died. So everybody survived all of these years. All of these guys that anybody thinks fake their death, they're just alive, huh? Nobody. Life doesn't work. Not natural causes, not bullets, not nothing. God damn.
We're living in a movie, and Chapo's not in prison. Mayo's not in prison either.
This got a clean forensic exit. The cartel members are also acting. Anger does not come with notice. What? Listen, we heard the same thing when Mayo got snatched. Everybody said if it's true that he got snatched, there'd be blood in the streets of Sinaloa right now, 30 minutes ago. And guess what?
Yeah,
That shit took a month. Why? Because
Sky.
sometimes anger has to make some arrangements.
And we were doing a live, and we were talking about all that, and we had to fight back those rumors and people saying he turned himself
They never
in.
came back and apologized to me. Never. They never came back.
And it's laughable, guys. Come on, you guys are too. You have to be smarter than that. We're in 2026, guys. Come on, these ain't religious. Like they're not gods. Like stop, man. You've been watching too many super Avengers, man. Come on.
Shout out Brandon Phillips. How do you know he's dead? The same way we know Robert Duvall is dead. The internet told us.
It doesn't matter. Okay, right now the news is that he's dead. Okay, if he got away like someone else, all right, great for him. Like Hitler did, great. But right now he's dead. Shai, I want to say something else. I have to say this. Look, you guys don't know El Mencho personally. I did, and I wasn't impressed. Be
But
mad at that.
they're gonna say, Jay, you so full of shit, so arrogant, so full of yourself. Of course he wasn't shit because you think you the shit. Blah 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 blah. But that's just your opinion. It is what the fuck
It
it
is
is.
my opinion, and what would I know, right? What would I know? I don't think.
I tell you this. You have a first impression that actually exists. It's not something you imagined. It's not something that you talked about on the internet. It's not something that you said in a chat with no face and no name. You were a person that stood in front of this man and has an actual first impression of him.
And guess what?
Nobody else. Nobody in the 406 people watching this, the over 200 that haven't hit the like button, none of y'all have had that. So you guys want an answer, but sometimes you're gonna get the answer you don't want, and that's his answer. He's the one that has that experience. That I don't know what to tell you.
And you know what? That's the thing, and I'll tell you, my one thing that hasn't changed is my answers. Yeah, and I told this to the government, all right, and I said this to everyone. I wasn't impressed, okay, um, at all. And I'm gonna tell you something. You hear me say it a lot of times when I come on here, good dude or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I keep it real. I just tell you from my opinion, okay. Again, maybe shy. I'm not gangster or I'm not like a a, a psychopath
Mm-hmm.
like these people on who make these comments. So
No,
that's
you
why
soft as
I'm
fuck. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that's why I have these thoughts. But I guess sure.
What was it? Can you wanna elaborate on that? What weren't you impressed by?
But
Uh,
we're talking about someone who probably was a lot of like these people who you talk about who are in the chat that live in this like fairy tale world of what they think is important, right? If having balls, don't have a
mm-hmm.
personality, don't have nothing else other than wanting to prove how much of a big balls that you are, right?
Right.
And it's stupid. You get me? And here's the thing: it's like we talk about some of the what it is to be a real leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like leaders come, it's not forced upon,
Mm-hmm.
you give the wrong person a little power. You give him money to buy, tanks and rocket launchers and men, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go on social media and you start, blowing fathers with their kids off, like blowing them up on, and doing that, and it happens. But if you're gonna tell me that I'm supposed to be impressed by a psychopath because
Right.
he's a violent man, and this is where I have to kind of like say, from being like trying to give my professional expert, one of a kind knowledge and experience. If you're telling me that, then go fuck yourself. How about that?
Right.
It's stupid. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
because to me, you giving a green light to the oppression of everybody involved. You know what I'm saying? You okay with that shit? You okay with the old lady being extorted? You okay with the kid being kidnapped? You okay with that shit? That to me, that's not gangster. That's now you. That's psychopath shit. Now you on some other shit. You done passed it from the hustle. You passed on from the streets to some other shit. Why? Because you couldn't handle that power and your ego took over. And to me, real gangsters should always combat that. It's just
Yeah, exactly. Right.
why would they ever target Customs and Border Patrol? Those are some of the most important ones on the payroll. Payroll, no.
Not from my experience. No one's important like that. But that's stupid that they would even target them for what?
They're faking his death again. Yeah, you guys tell us a lot about yourselves without knowing it. It is what it is. They fake his death. They have to really sell it, which is what they're doing. Oh, they're selling it, huh? Like a professional wrestler. So they're selling it, Jay. You gotta sell it. Listen,
I feel bad for you guys, man. What world do you guys live in that you guys would like conspiracy theorists for what reason? You see what's going on right now in so many different states and cities in Mexico right now, right? It's all BS, guys. It's not true. I heard that there's no planes coming in or coming out, so we'll see.
well, I saw a video where I was hearing gunshots and seeing people running at the airport. So,
What they said was that that road from the airport leads to like Colima and different parts of Mencho stronghold, right? So I guess they said that a lot of the men were going there and carjacking people, and I guess they shot some shots off or had a roadblock or something, and a bunch of people ran to the airport. Would that would make sense, you know?
I see. Yeah, no, there's gonna be a logical explanation for everything once everybody stops telling themselves what they want to hear. Free Mexico from the goddamn cartels. I agree. I just don't know that it'll happen.
I don't think that's ever gonna go away, Shy. But if you see what's happening in Colombia over the years and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
they continue to exist. Cocaine production is up,
Right.
doubled probably,
Right.
in recent years, and and you don't see these, cartels operating like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the United States took care of the job, right? With the Medellin cartel, the Cali cartel,
Mm-hmm.
the cartel, the what is it? The Nuevo whatever cartel, and the last big cartel that they dismantled. So it's been over since, because they know what happens already.
Right.
Cartel Norte de Valle cartel. Um, and just, all those, how about this? From all those big cartels, the big four ones, right? Cali, Medellin, Norte de Valle, and the super cartel, most of those people either who didn't die, they all cooperated, all the heads.
Jay, can you tell us why you didn't like it, Mencho? I believe he touched on it a little bit. It was a character thing. You could quickly break that, give a summary of that if you'd like, Jay. If not, you let me know.
Well, uh, my personal interaction with him, this is the thing. He, believe it or not, that recording where you hear him, that's the way he was. I'm more of a, chilled person. I've always been chilled. I always felt like I got respect just from me being myself. And he was a little bit too aggressive, and we ended up having discussions between him wanting to do a big business deal, and I told him that we had to ask the boss, and then he got a little crazy with me and said, "I am the boss." He said, "The only thing." That's what I said. The only boss around here are my balls.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone to speak to me like that, I felt like, like, stop, bro. You're a worker. His personality just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? I think we all have, people that we could, click with, and then those people we can. He wasn't someone I click with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's saying a lot, especially coming from me, who I felt like I never really had an issue clicking with somebody. I'm a very open-minded person. I'm very respectful, and he just wasn't my type.
You say he was one of those guys that was on all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And when I say I didn't like him, like I didn't think about him to not to like him. I just he wasn't my type. That's it. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you something. This is funny because I just thought about one of my guys. Sometimes I'd be like just not charge the phone or just get rid of the phone. And then next thing you know, it'll be a couple of weeks will pass, and then he sends someone. He'll send someone to to go get me and say, hey, Mencho's trying to get a hold of you. He said for you to call him.
Damn, he pushing the line on the phone, huh?
Yeah. So I used to be like this guy, but he was. But one of my guys, right? Well, two of them, they're actually from the same area that Mencho was hiding at. Around those times, and he'd grow a lot of the weed and poppies around there. And they had a really good relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
And they always tell me like, "Nah, give him a chance." And I'm like, "Nope, I'm good."
Y'all think he was killed in the house or trying to get away? Yeah, yo, from what we're hearing, they had a bing 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 shootout, and then he was injured. And as they were trying to take him to wherever they were going to take him to heal him up, to lock him up, he went to the upper room.
The upper
I have something to
room.
say. In my opinion, that's what happened. They were not trying to save him for nothing. On the way there, I just get rid of him.
Right. It's honestly weird that Mencho's dead. It feels weird. Why does it feel weird? When he was alive, did it affect your daily life? That
Yeah,
it
he brought me coffee every day and made eggs for me
did,
and fed the dog.
and I'm just asking if he made if him being alive is what made your life feel unweird every day. I mean,
Shout out to everyone in the chat who makes sense, man. Shout out to all the intelligent people who live in the real world, man. Just I love everyone in the chat, especially those bad comments. But guys, let's just there has to be some more intelligence out there, Shy.
Jay, question from the outside looking in: does Mencho's death benefit the Mexican corrupt politicians or us? Now, would his capture alive benefit or not the Mexicans or the U.S. government?
Well, I think that the fact that he was killed benefits the politicians in Mexico, right? They don't have to worry about him telling on anyone. And if you guys just you guys remember, Shy, one of the things I've been wanting to point out, if you go back and you notice every time they catch one of these drug lords, right? It doesn't matter who it was. If it was the most violent, crazy, Zeta 40, Zeta 42, La Barbie, El Chapo, they all give statements, right? As soon as they're arrested.
At the air, the Barbie shit looked like they did it right outside the plane.
So did Zeta 42. All the Zetas, they all give information. A few of the CJNG members they got, they right away started saying, "I work with this. I was fighting with this person. This government was helping him. This officer was helping." They start giving all that information, so it's gonna benefit the Mexican government, so they don't have to worry about him snitching. Like with facts and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and law enforcement. And the military.
So you want to be a drug dealer, huh? Yeah, put that one on the shirt. With everybody's demise listed from top to bottom on that motherfucker. And how many people they turned in and how many people turned them in. And if you put that all together, whew, crazy list. A crazy board with a bunch of strings attached to it.
I wonder, does that make the real like gangsters and the real dope boys say, "Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's the life I want to live."
Like what?
Or
Like I want to be the man. I want them to talk
yeah,
about me, and then I want to end up mush on the bottom of some airplane somewhere.
yeah. While my kid spends the rest of his life in prison in the ADX,
Meanwhile, and my
and
family
his
mourns
family
me, and everything's done. They're
and
in
his
danger and
daughter.
all kind
Look,
of shit.
his daughter's in prison. His daughter's coming out soon though. His son is in prison. It's like, I mean, he's dead, and like, I don't know. Maybe it's me, or maybe I wonder, does people still want to live that life?
Some of these. Somebody asked. I believe a wrench asked how this will affect the Chapitos. Do they lose their alliance, their armed wing that's been helping them in this war?
That's a good question. I don't think it's gonna be the same. You know what I mean? A lot of these relationships that Chapios had with Mencho stem from the Chapios growing up in Guadalajara and their families having that bond.
Mm-hmm.
When the millennium was there, they all went to school with each other. Coming up, they all lived around the same areas and stuff like that.
Listen, if you came to this channel thinking this is a glorification channel, it is absolutely not a glorification channel.
Johnny Mitchell's channel is called The Connect.
There you go. You could go over to Johnny Mitchell if you want that. This is not the glorification channel. This is a common sense. Let's figure out what the truth is. Let's sift through the bullshit and find what's really the problem, and then let's hold it accountable and tell it to go fuck itself. All right.
One of these days, I am gonna do the Johnny Mitchell. I have a bunch of notes about the shit I'm gonna say.
You ready? You ready? You ready for Johnny Mitchell?
Especially, I see these thumbnails. I see this new thumbnail right now that he has. Like, I moved 100 tons in Delta Airlines
100 million tons.
to Delta and across 50 states. I'm like, oh my God, bro. Hey, Shai, I want to say something because I get, journalists and media requests all the time. I'm probably going to do some in a little bit today. I'm confident to say, bro, like, if there is some real ones out there that we don't know about, we don't know about. Me and sometimes my brother comes on here and live and stuff. We're probably the only ones that had relationship were involved at those levels that talk about it, Armando Valencia doesn't want no one to know that he lives in California, and that he snitched. Vicente doesn't want no one, he don't want, no one wants to talk about them snitching, cooperating. El Maito Gordo, Serafin, Chino Antes is dead. All these people, no one talks about that. I do think we're probably the only like people who were around in that era involved with these people that actually,
Speak on it.
still, yeah, speak on it, still like to talk about it, and still have that, like the receipts, right? So I think that makes it, unique. Anytime that we could come on your channel, even though people don't like the content because they want me to be talking about some stuff that will make them happy. Like Pierre, right? I see him like he always says, "Look, this is coming from my perspective, my point of view. From studying cases, from researching cases, and stuff like that, right?" I think that for me, I can't talk for law enforcement because I was never a cop. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't cross those lanes. I tell you my opinion based on the real knowledge, right? The real experience I've had. And I think that makes a difference. So like we're coming out here just giving our commentary, right? What's going on in the news. Let's not ever lose focus on that. There's a lot of innocent people who are going to be suffering. Military for law enforcement who are in Mexico whose lives are at risk, right? And I tell this to law enforcement every time, every chance I get. Cops, the good guys, they lose their lives in Mexico each and every day fighting this shit,
Mm-hmm.
fighting this war. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you don't see about that because all you hear is about corruption. Yeah, I think that I really appreciate your channel, your platform, because it's not going to be one of those glorifications, right? It's going to be like, look, this is the reality of it. And I'm not sure if you're being biased to the way you feel. I don't think so. I think that you're just keeping it, real about, look, all these guys were all the snitches, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hear people still talk about the Chino Anthrax and be like, yeah, bro, he cooperated. He got 5 years, you know,
Right.
and he thought he was like that, and he got killed in a week. You know what I mean? Again, all these foolish stories, even on the American side, when you talk about these kingpins and these criminals, who are telling you about where they're like, and that they do this, they do that, and it makes all these young kids, these teenagers, who listen to this go and want to, outdo them for
Mm-hmm.
what, Yeah, I see these stories about, I send you some stories about like innocent people getting punched in the face, women just getting harassed in subways and, by these young thugs, like think they're like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't go to a real hood and do it. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, stop, bro.
The cartels are going to go the way of the cartels in Colombia, working quietly and in the shadows.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely. It's like many organizations actually do right now at this point, and have always done. I do believe that right now is the perfect time to really, really let every criminal organization, especially in Mexico, right, all these cartels, to kind of let them know like the rule of the land, right, and it's gonna take the U.S. to really just do it. You know what I mean? Not even to stop, but just to go and do it. The sad part about this is like maybe we do it too. I'm just thinking out loud, and you see right now, like all the feeds, hopefully, like I would hope that it's good if all the news feeds, all the social media feeds, they're like following this stuff, right? Because it's important. But I just can't understand why somebody would be listening to this and be like, "Oh, that's great, mention this or go, Viva CJ." Like I don't get that.
Listen, I tell them all the time that those people wouldn't even fuck with you. They wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire, and they might set you on fire and still not piss on you.
You know what? Absolutely, and I think that you're when I'm reading your commentary, right? I've shared my commentary on the book of El Traidor, which is the traitor,
Mm-hmm.
the book written by Anibal Hernandez for Vicente, and
Mm-hmm.
he goes so much into that to stories that I know, like I knew a lot of the other side, and I share stuff with you. I'm like, oh, he didn't say this, right, Shai?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say that,
Mm-hmm.
and again, if you notice, no one can deny. Like by now, you kind of get it where Vicente was in the cartel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the cartel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he invented the stuff. Because of him and his father, they were the ones that gave the opportunity to El Mencho to exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
and that's factual. But he doesn't even talk about the cartel like that.
Mhm.
Like they don't. He's not glorifying the cartel, right?
Right.
He's not glorifying his own organization.